All right, so let's ditch those like surface level headlines, the ones about profits and losses, and take a real deep dive into Titan Company Limited's second quarter results for fiscal year 2025.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. The report just dropped, and we've got way more to work with than just, your typical press release.
Right.
Think internal documents, investor presentations, even some peeks behind the curtain at their brand strategies.
I think what's really cool here is we get to kind of see the machinery behind those big, bold numbers, you know? This isn't just about what happened. It's about why it happened and what it might mean going forward for Titan.
Exactly. So you ready to go beyond those top-level numbers and really uncover the real story behind Titan's performance?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's start with the overall picture. Titan saw a 26% jump in revenue year-on-year, reaching 13,660 crores.
Wow.
But here's where it gets interesting. Profits actually took a 24% dip, landing at 948 crores.
Oh, wow. Okay, so is that a red flag?
Well, at first glance, you might think so. But if you remember, this quarter brought a pretty big change to the gold market.
Oh, right. The reduction in custom duties.
Exactly, and that's precisely why we need to dig deeper. That duty reduction impacted Titan's bottom line, sure.
Yeah.
But it also creates some really interesting opportunities.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Lower duties mean gold is more accessible, potentially bringing in a whole new wave of customers.
So it's not just about weathering a temporary storm. It's about how they can leverage these changes, to their advantage.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get a little more granular.
Right.
First up, their crown jewel, the jewelry segment. Their India business saw a dazzling 25% growth with double-digit increases in both the number of buyers and the average amount they spent.
Yeah, it seems like people were ready to shine after those duty reductions.
They were ready to get some bling.
Absolutely. But what I find even more interesting is how Titan is using its different brands to cater to different needs and desires. You've got Tanushpe Park with its traditional heritage appeal. Then you've got Mia capturing the modern everyday woman. And then there's Zoya for those seeking something truly unique and luxurious.
Yeah, it's like they've created a whole ecosystem of brands, each with its own distinct personality, allowing them to, tap into this huge slice of the market.
It's really smart.
It is. Okay, now on to watches and wearables, a segment that's always ticking along with innovation.
Right.
They saw a respectable 19% growth overall.
Yeah, and here's a detail I found really interesting. Analog watches, those classic timepieces, actually led the charge with a 26% increase.
So the old school charm is still alive and well.
Ah.
What does this tell us about, consumer preferences in the world of watches?
Well, I think it suggests that there's still a very strong demand for the craftsmanship, the heritage, the feeling that a traditional watch evokes. It's not just about telling time, it's about making a statement.
Yeah, it's a whole vibe.
Absolutely. But of course, we can't ignore the rise of wearables. While they did see volume growth, meaning more units were sold, revenue actually dipped a bit because average selling prices went down.
So it's a volume game for wearables right now. Is this a sign of a maturing market where, competition is heating up and margins are getting thinner? What do you think?
That's a great question. It's definitely something to watch closely. Now let's move over to eye care. Did this segment see the same level of growth?
Well, not quite as sharp as the others. Eye care had slower growth at 7%, partly due to seasonal factors impacting sunglasses sales.
Okay.
But here's where it gets interesting. International brands within eye care saw a whopping 53% growth.
Oh, wow. That's a huge contrast. It reminds me of how Helios, the channel for international watch brands, also saw really strong growth.
Yeah.
It seems like we're seeing a bit of a pattern here, a growing appetite for premium, perhaps even aspirational brands, even in categories like eyewear.
So it's not just about function anymore. It's about the brand, the style, the statement. Consumers are willing to pay a premium for that elevated experience.
It seems so.
Okay, now before we jump into Titan's long-term vision, let's touch on their emerging businesses category.
Right. This is where they're placing their bets for the future fragrances, fashion accessories, Indian dress wear. It's a smaller part of their portfolio now, but still growing at a very respectable 14%.
And it makes sense. They're clearly aiming to be a major player in the lifestyle space, and these categories fit perfectly into that ambition.
I'm sure.
And remember that impressive 62% growth in international jewelry we touched on earlier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Titan is taking brand India global with new stores popping up in the GCC, the US, Singapore. It's a bold move, and it seems to be paying off.
So they're not just riding the wave, they're creating it. But it's not just about global domination, right? What else did you find interesting about their overall vision?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was their emphasis on creating elevating experiences. It's a subtle but really important shift. They're not just selling products, they're crafting a brand experience that resonates with their target audience.
Yeah, I mean, think about their tennis shoe stores. They're not just shops. They're like these luxurious, inviting spaces where customers can relax, explore, and receive personalized consultations.
Hmm.
And they're also hosting workshops and events that cater to specific interests, turning shopping into an experience.
Yeah, it's about creating a destination, a place where people want to spend time, not just money.
Exactly. And they're doing this across their different brands,
Mhm.
right? What about brands like Mia and Fast Track, which target a younger, more value-conscious audience?
Absolutely. Mia, for example, is all about capturing the spirit of the modern independent woman. They've even collaborated with inspiring figures like Paralympic champion Sheetal Devi to really embody those values of strength and inclusivity.
It's about empowerment, about celebrating individual journeys.
Exactly.
And with Fast Track, they've always been known for their edgy, youthful marketing and affordable prices.
For sure. They're constantly pushing boundaries, tapping into the latest trends, whether it's through quirky collaborations or engaging social media campaigns.
Right. And speaking of social responsibility, that's another key element woven into their brand strategy.
Yeah, initiatives like Tanera's Weaver Shilla program aren't just good deeds. They're smart business. They're supporting local communities, preserving traditional crafts, and appealing to consumers who care about a brand's values.
It's a win-win. They're making a positive impact while also strengthening their brand image. So to recap what we've learned so far, Titan's showing strong revenue growth despite that profit dip caused by the custom duty changes.
Mhm.
They've got a diverse portfolio with some segments really firing on all cylinders, and they're laser-focused on growth, brand building, and making a positive impact.
It's a very dynamic picture full of intriguing details.
It is. But here's a question for you. With all this information, how would you assess Titan's future?
Mm.
Do you see them achieving their vision of being India's most prestigious lifestyle products company? And what challenges and opportunities do you think lie ahead?
That's a great question. It's definitely something to think about.
It is. And it's something we're going to keep in mind as we move on and dissect their financials in the next part. Get ready to crunch some numbers, but don't worry, we'll keep it engaging. Stay with us. There's much more to uncover.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've gotten a good feel, for Titan's overall performance and strategic direction.
Mm.
Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and delve into, those financials.
Okay.
But don't worry, we're not going full on Wall Street here.
Right. We're going to look at their statement of profit and loss, but our goal is to kind of spot the interesting trends. See where the money is flowing and really understand what it all means for Titan's overall health.
Yeah.
Think of it like reading a financial story.
Oh, I like that, a financial story.
Mm.
So what's the first chapter in this story?
Well, right off the bat, we see some pretty significant jumps in revenue for Q2 FY25 compared to the same period last year.
Right.
Standalone revenue climbed 24.5%, reaching 23,476 crores,
Okay.
while consolidated revenue surged an impressive 26.4% to 25,804 crores.
So even with those custom duty impacts we talked about earlier, they're bringing in more revenue overall.
No.
That's got to be a good sign, right?
It absolutely is. It shows their core businesses are performing well and attracting more customers.
Right.
But revenue is only one side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
We need to look at profitability, too, and that's where things get a bit more nuanced.
Because of those custom duty reductions again?
Precisely. Both standalone and consolidated EBIT, or earnings before interest and taxes, declined year on year.
Right.
But remember, the duty reduction played a major role in that.
Yeah.
If we adjust for that impact,
Okay.
imagine a scenario where those reductions didn't happen.
Right.
The picture looks quite different.
So like a what-if scenario.
Exactly. Take the jewelry segment, for example.
Okay.
Standalone EBIT for Q2 FY25 was 932 crores with an 8.7% margin.
Okay.
But if we factor in the duty impact, that normalized EBIT jumps to 222 crores with an 11.4% margin.
Oh, wow, that's a big difference.
It-
So the core business is actually quite healthy, but those external factors are, kind of skewing things a bit.
Exactly.
It makes you realize how important it is to look at the full context, not just the headline numbers.
Absolutely. Now, another interesting tidbit from these statements is the performance of different segments.
Okay.
The watches and wearables segment, for instance, achieved a 15% EBIT margin on a standalone basis, even with those price pressures we discussed earlier.
So they're managing to maintain profitability in a segment known for rapid innovation and tough competition.
It's pretty impressive.
It is. Now, what about their emerging businesses? Those are still in investment mode, right?
They are, and their negative EBIT for the quarter reflects that. But remember, these are long-term bets for Titan.
Mm-hmm.
They're pouring resources into building these brands, so it's natural to see a bit of a lag before profitability kicks in.
Right. It's like planting seeds for the future. You don't expect a harvest overnight.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this mix of, strong performers and strategic investments, all while navigating those custom duty changes.
Mhm.
What other financial trends should we be paying attention to?
Well, one thing that stands out to me is their debt-to-equity ratio.
Okay.
For both standalone and consolidated results, this ratio is currently below 1.
Mhm.
This basically means they're using more equity than debt to finance their operations,
Okay.
which is generally seen as a sign of financial prudence.
So they're not over-leveraged, which gives them more flexibility to maneuver and invest in growth.
Exactly.
That, combined with their consistent revenue growth over the years, paints a picture of a company that's using its financial stability as a springboard for expansion.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Interesting.
And let's not forget about cash flow. Their cash flow from operations is healthy, meaning they're efficiently generating cash from their core businesses,
Right.
which is vital for any company's sustainability.
So they've got strong revenue, healthy cash flow, and they're managing their debt prudently.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty solid financial foundation.
I think.
But, beyond the numbers, I'm curious to know how they're thinking about their brands.
Mm-hmm.
After all, Titan is known for its, strong brand portfolio.
Right.
And in today's world, brand building is more important than ever.
It absolutely is. And that's where Titan's brand strategy comes in. Those investor presentations we have offer some really fascinating insights.
Okay, time to explore the heart and soul of Titan, their brands. What have they got cooking?
Okay, so we've crunched the numbers, analyzed the financials, and it's clear Titan's got a solid foundation.
Yeah.
But, in today's world, it's not just about the bottom line, right?
Right. It's about connecting with consumers on like an emotional level,
Yeah.
building brands that people actually love and trust.
Exactly. And that's where Titan's brand strategy comes in.
Right.
And, our sources, they reveal kind of a multi-pronged approach that's both clever and adaptable. And one key element is like their embrace of the digital landscape.
Yeah.
Their investor presentation, it highlights a significant increase in digitally influenced sales.
Particularly in the jewelry segment.
Especially jewelry.
So, people are browsing online, researching different styles, maybe even getting like inspiration from social media before they even step foot in a store.
Exactly. And Titan is responding by really ramping up their online presence, investing in e-commerce platforms, and using data to, understand those customer preferences. They're creating like a seamless experience that bridges that gap between the online and offline worlds.
What I find interesting is that it's not just about like selling products online.
Right.
They're using these digital channels to tell their brand stories,
Yeah.
engage with customers, and gather, valuable feedback.
For sure. It's about building relationships, not just transactions.
Exactly. They're creating a sense of community.
Yeah.
A place where people can connect with the brand and with each other.
Absolutely.
But it's not all about, pixels and algorithms.
Right.
They're also focusing on creating those elevating experiences we talked about earlier.
Yes, those moments that make a lasting impression.
Exactly. So let's dive into that a bit. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, think about their Tanishq stores.
Okay.
They're designed to be more than just shops. They're like these luxurious, inviting spaces where
Right.
customers can relax, explore, and receive those personalized consultations.
Yeah, and they're also hosting workshops and events that cater to specific interests.
Right.
Turning shopping into like a whole experience.
Exactly. It's about creating a destination, a
Yeah.
place where people want to spend time, not just money.
Exactly. And they're doing this across their different brands, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about brands like Mia and Fast Track, which, target a younger, more value-conscious audience?
Absolutely. Mia, for example, is all about capturing that spirit of the modern independent woman.
Yeah.
And they've collaborated with, inspiring figures like Paralympic champion Sheetal Devi
Oh, wow.
to really embody those values of strength and inclusivity.
It's about empowerment, about celebrating individual journeys.
Right.
And Fast Track, they've always been known for their like edgy, youthful marketing and affordable prices.
Right. They're constantly pushing boundaries, tapping into the latest trends, whether it's through, quirky collaborations or engaging social media campaigns.
And speaking of social responsibility, that's another key element, like woven into their brand strategy.
For sure. Yeah, initiatives like Tanera's Weaver Shella program aren't just good deeds,
Uh-huh.
They're smart business. They're supporting local communities, preserving those traditional crafts,
Hmm.
and really appealing to consumers who care about a brand's
That's a
values.
win-win. They're
Right.
making a positive impact while also strengthening their brand image.
Absolutely.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Titan's Q2 FY25 results,
Mm-hmm.
we see a company that's not only performing well financially, but also building brands that are, relevant, engaging, and purpose-driven.
I think so.
It's been a fascinating journey from the big picture
Yeah.
down to the smallest details. We've uncovered, impressive growth, strategic investments, and a deep understanding of you know, the evolving consumer landscape.
Right.
And as always, we like to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
In a world where change is the only constant, how can brands like Titan continue to innovate, adapt, and capture the, hearts and minds of their customers?
That is the question.
It is. It's a question worth pondering, and we hope this deep dive is giving you like the insights and inspiration,
Yeah.
to explore that question further. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.